That is Coach Arthur Smith joining us here. And, Coach, we got a lot to talk about. A big London trip coming up here. I know you guys are getting ready. And by the way, I don't want to get you in trouble. You like these overseas games? I mean, I know coaches have different opinions about it.
Yeah.
They're okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, it's pretty cool when you have perspective that they're going to, pay us to go over in London to London in an international game, and that a lot of people will watch, and it's a cool environment. We did it 2 years ago. We're in Tottenham. This time we'll be in Wembley. I was part of that game in 2018 when I was in Tennessee. We played the Chargers over there. It's a really cool atmosphere. It's a historic stadium, and it'll be live.
I know they do some stuff with it. Do you have any downtime to do any touristy stuff when you're over there?
Not necessarily touristy stuff, but Friday afternoons in the NFL is kind of like everybody's in the submarine, and usually Friday afternoons, players and coaches is kind of one time when I think you see daylight as coaches. But I'm sure we'll find a good pub or something. Bass and I will down the street.
Well, plenty of those, man. As you guys know, Coach has already spoken to the media about what happened this week up against Detroit. Just our first chance, and we won't make it too painful today. The overriding thing we talked about is your personality. You're an offensive lineman. You want to run the ball. Conscious decision to throw the ball, was that part of the game plan and how you scripted it?
Yeah.
Or you just why did Coach just run it down their throat?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. I mean, first off, the questions are never painful. If I ever get up here and act like questions are painful, I loathe that when people act like a victim up here. Like it's part of the job. And if you don't like it, go do something else. So, and it's fair when things don't work or they go your way. I mean, you better stand in there. It's easy to stand in there when things are going well, but you better be accountable. And so, go into the game, we kind of understood what their game plan was. I mean, we don't want to be the service academy and just sit with the static formations condensing there. So a lot of times you're trying to, strategically, you're trying to loosen them up and get some other things going. And you get behind the count, and we were in too many second and longs, and certainly in too many third and longs. And, credit to Detroit, there's some things that we needed to operate cleaner, and we didn't. We didn't hit some of the, plays we had a chance early to try, take the initiative or steal some momentum. And then even as ugly as it felt, we had a chance after Jesse to put some pressure on him. Right. We had the drive in the third quarter. We came away with no points. So you're down 10, but you get the ball back at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Now you can put some pressure on them. And we didn't. And so that was disappointing. And that kind of was the turning point in the game. But, as ugly as that, you go in there and you can get it to 13-10. Again, that's not nothing to write home about, but you got a chance. And so, our guys are resilient. There's some things that give Detroit credit. They came up. We knew they were going to be wired up at home because the opposite of the week before. And it was a good, some tough lessons. And if you have that mindset, we'll be better off because of it and be a better team.
You told us that last week. You said they were going to be amped up. I mean, you said that before we left here last week. It's Coach Arthur Smith. Coach, you're an offensive lineman, and always will be. I was so disappointed and frustrated with the way our line played as a group. I want to know how you felt, and then what are we doing to try to correct some of those things that we saw against the Lions?
Sure. That's the thing is like it's a copycat league. So if somebody thinks something will work, right? We had gone a lot of games, at least running the ball pretty well, but we want to be more balanced. And there's some things I think in the positive direction you could see as some guys are getting healthier as we get more comfortable in the passing. That's just going to open up one more thing. And sometimes, you feel good about coming off the Green Bay game. That momentum, there's some things that you build confidence, but every week's going to be a different story. And that's the challenge in the NFL. There's some things that we thought we did really well in Green Bay. Obviously, it's a different defense, different plan, different atmosphere. So, as we get going, that was the first time in a while that, we had been behind the count like that. And, then you're in a lot of more obvious drop back situations. So the number of count running wasn't going to be great anyways, but you're going to have to win games like that. And we didn't. And so you don't want it to become a habit. So our response this week's big, but I got a lot of faith in our guys. They got us. It happened one game, but that's not our standard, and that's not who we want to be. And I got a lot of faith in our guys.
It is Arthur Smith, guys. Our weekly visit live at Flowery Branch here at our studios north for Dukes and Bell. Desmond Ridder, total ownership of. He said I could play better. I could make a better throw to Kyle Pitts, and that's what you want to hear. How do you help him in a week like this? I mean, is it film? Because fans always go, well, the quarterback can figure something out. Was there just nothing he could do, or is it just simply things that have to be corrected and fixed that he could have been able to do? Accurate throws are one thing when he did have a pocket.
Well, I mean, again, put it in perspective. Obviously there's always going to be a throw or two you don't want to have back. I think there's some things that, again, we're not going to get into scheme when we answer, but there were some of the things he operated, which which is good. I mean, to be able to some of those second longs we over a game, whether we were an empty or in drop back, it's good to see Kyle get going as he's progressing, getting hopefully back to where he was. But those are good confidence things. I mean, I thought he ran route tree inside well. Some things he operated. The ball placement, even the one he hit Kyle over the middle, we were in a kind of an empty look, and they gave us a certain look, and him and Kyle on the same page. And then the ball placement and some of those things to let us be effective somewhat, even when we had to go fast late. But yeah, obviously, the critical down. That's why we love Des. He's accountable.
Right.
There's a lot of guys in this league that try to make excuses, and even as coaches, like it's always going to start with me. If the mindset, whether it's Kyle or it's Jake or Chris, we all look what we can do better, and then as a unit and as a team, even defensively, we don't sit there and say, "Oh, well, we played well." Well, there's plays we got to make. We can't get that. But when you have the right guys, that's your mindset. Right. The easy thing and the sad thing in this league is there's a lot of drama where it feels like a Bravo TV show. When you don't, you're honest, you're open. That's how you get things fixed.
On the plane back, I'm just curious. Are you looking at the film at that
Yeah.
point? You're watching on the way back?
You have it instantly now.
Okay,
Yeah, right.
So you're watching it. And are you, as you watch the film, going, damn, I should have called something else right there? Do you look at that way, or are you looking at it in a different way?
Well, like, I can't speak for other play callers, but I can tell you this. Whether we win and play really well on Sunday or we don't play well, there's always things that keep me up on Sunday night.
Right.
I should have done this. And that's not being a martyr. It's just, okay, you have your reasons why. If you don't have a reason why, that's not a good thing. Okay, maybe it didn't work. Maybe they had a better call. Maybe they had a different plan, and there's not the adjustment you wanted, or maybe a guy made a play. You had the call, and that's football sometimes. And they got paid on the other side. They made a play. So there's a lot of things that go into it. But yeah, I think that's part of the sickness of coaching. Like if you're a play caller in this league, like I don't sleep well on Sunday night, regardless of the outcome.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
One last on Motown. We'll move on to London and the Jaguars. When you do have things kind of going against, and as you said, you're behind schedule, they're down in distance. Do things like, we always say, well, we can be so imaginative with those offense with playmakers like Drake and Kyle and Bijan. And do some of those go out the window because now you got to have max pass protection, less targets are going down the field? How much of that was a factor on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, it all plays into it, right? What's the coverage? What are they trying to take away? So if they get a lead and then the advantage, okay, what's the defense mindset? If they're aggressive and give you man, well, now you can win one-on-one. So it's kind of like that third down that Drake caught. They start bailing again. They think they have the advantage and they're trying to play off or whatever. Yeah, then if you're trying to wait, you're gonna have advantage on pass rush. So it's a give and take of chip or how you want to protect, or you make them pay with some catch and runs. But when you become obvious, that's why when you get behind track, some of the stuff you call a shot. There were 2 shots we called. Again, as soon as we came out the top of the drop off a fake, again, you'll never know. I mean, even
pressure.
That's what happens.
Yep.
So those are the games within the games, and those aren't excuses. That's what happened. So, yeah, I mean, there's always give and take to that, and I mean, even some things in the run game, we try to be creative and try to get the Bijan in space and. Give Detroit credit, but I promise you this: our guys will be ready to roll Sunday. Breakfast at Wembley, whatever it is here in Atlanta at 9:30 a.m.
Yeah.
It'll be 2:30 over in London.
Yeah, mimosas and Bloody Marys for us, Coach.
I love it.
We're talking with Arthur Smith as we do each week on Dukes and Bell. Let's talk about Jacksonville because you said it. They're coming off of a bad taste in their mouth as well. What do you see, Coach, when you see this team and you're watching them? We're familiar with Trevor Lawrence. He's a local kid.
Yeah, Cartersville, right?
Yeah, Cartersville, went on to Clemson. Listen, he's talented. The offense is talented. And I know I heard you today talk about, seeing Calvin on a personal level.
Sure.
You want to see him do well, but, we want to win the football game.
No doubt. And that's what we're here to do. And so, they've invested a lot in their, how every team's built, right? Where do they invest? They invested in some veteran pass catchers and free agency 2 years ago. Evan Ingram, another local guy, right?
That's right.
So many good players come out of Georgia. So Evan's another guy that adds an element that he's a tough guy, even an undersized tight end, but he's an explosive football player. Somebody that invested in. Obviously, they made the trade for Calvin, so you've got 4 receivers / tight ends that you invested in. You put the number 1 pick in Trevor Lawrence. They have good backs at the end. They can run the ball too. It's not like they're not balanced, but that's what they invested in. So it's a different challenge this week. Different than Detroit. Every week's a different challenge. It's good on good. Yeah, they got a lot of pride. I'm sure they're not happy losing 2 at home with their expectations, but it's such an early part in the season. So they'll present a good challenge over there. And then defensively, Another local guy, right? I keep saying that.
It's true.
Another number 1 pick.
Right.
Good length, power, and Walker on the edge. Josh Allen on the other side, and they're stout in the middle. And they've invested in that. They're heavy-handed. So it's a great challenge, and we're looking forward to it. They've got a big-time returner in Agnew, and so we have a special teams challenge. But that's the NFL. That's every week in the NFL. But we're excited, and everybody's different. There'll be some things they take from they think the work that they've seen on film or whatever it is, and we got to adapt, and we need to play well.
Pregame, I think, starts at 5:30, by the way, on 92.9 The Game.
Yes, it is.
Not for you and I. We'll be in bed. But it's Arthur Smith with us here live, guys. Falcons, West and Arch will have the call from Wembley. The defense has really been kicking butt. I know that we could always, every team could say we need more pass rush from the down linemen, but it seems like they created turnovers. Jesse Bates has been a one-man gang. What are you going to do now at linebacker? Do you feel you've got guys here and the practice squad to handle the loss, at least long-term or short-term, for Troy Anderson?
Yeah, I mean, that's why you develop your roster. It's an unfortunate part. You look around the league. They're not going to have Devin Lloyd. I mean, every team's got to deal with something. It's an unfortunate part about the NFL, but that's why these roster size, like the development matters so much. Like, I love the fact that we have practice squads that they get more opportunity. Can things happen as the season goes on? Nate played 2 weeks ago, played really well. We have a lot of different DBs, so week to week, to whatever your challenges, you can put different packages out there. And that's our job to problem solve.
Coach, from a fan base standpoint, we talk, and you know this, we're going to talk about our quarterback a lot this season, and we're going to talk about our head coach, which is you. And I'm curious to know, as fans have asked us, what does Arthur think 3 weeks in compared to all the offseason work that he put in with our quarterback? And now we're 3 weeks into the season. Is this where you expected it? Is he ahead of schedule? How do you feel about our quarterback right now?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of variables into it, as a team, and where we're at. The reality is, we're 2-1.
Right.
You want to be 3-0. You want to win every game, clearly. Okay, what's working? How's it going? The development. Are we doing things that reckless? Turning the ball over a lot. Are we making critical plays? Well, these are all arguments how you want to mash up the stats. So it's 7 starts, right? 4-3.
7, yeah.
Right, 1-4 in a row. Obviously, we'll see how he responds. But again, we got a lot of faith and conviction on him. It's so early in his career, and you see this all the time. People overreact. You're talking about quarterbacks, okay? So Trevor, I think Trevor's a great player. Obviously, they got hot at the end of last year. Still, I think 13-22 as a starter.
Correct. First year was tough.
So, right, and you go back and look at the history of quarterbacks in this league, and sometimes that if it's not good around them. Again, very few people, even Peyton Manning his first year, and I'm not comparing him to Peyton, but people forget that Peyton broke the rookie or the interception record. And then it became Peyton. People forget about Brady when he was in New England. That's a very different iteration of what that team was. Solid football, and then all of a sudden, after a couple of years, clearly they won a couple of Super Bowls, and then they started winning around him and because of him. And you look at that 07, I still maintain it's the most explosive offense I've ever seen. I was in Washington as a quality control. We were a playoff team. We were on the other end of one of the ugly nights. But that's the evolution of a player and those rep counts. And so it's so early. But everything now wants to overreact. And I think there's so many people who have opinions that they almost back themselves in the corner. Well, I like this quarterback. Well, he might be a hell of a quarterback, but he went to a completely dysfunctional place. He had no pieces. And then, there's so many things that can happen. And there's so many things you need to provide. And a lot of others on the player, too. To have success in this league.
Coach, and real quick, I know we got to go to your point, and we're not going to talk about other players because I know you don't do that, but Justin Fields is dealing with that right now in Chicago, and we were just talking about it. You're right as far as place, what's going on around them and all of that, but I know Falcon fans want to know about our guys, so I wanted to ask.
Yeah, there's a reason, and it's all going to play out. And again, we know the challenge this week. We know it's life in the NFL, and it does take a unique mindset to be a big-time player in this league.
And that's part of the learning curve when Detroit is where they were and taking things away. And we talked about some of the throws were underneath. Is that all that was there for him to take? And also, I'm sure it's not giving away secret sauce. The internal clock sometimes looked like he had to get the ball out of there sooner.
Sure, and that's what happens. I will say in the drop back, a guy gets beat early on. There was some good protection. I mean, trust me, you don't ever want to get sacked. You may have 1 or 2 happen a game, but when you eat that final number, okay, how they happen. Okay, you really, some of the protection calls, it did, but normally you call those those are safer. Those are, you're doing stuff with your movement or whatever you're doing. It's when you get caved in on drop back, if you get caved in 11 times, that's an ugly night too. I mean, however you slice it, you don't win, it's ugly. But
Coach, Get your mind right. Let's go get a win.
We're ready to roll.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you,
man.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
All right, that's Coach Arthur Smith, guys, here on Dukes and Bell.